KBCS Music and Ideas here on 91.3. I'm Steve Ramsey, and pleased to welcome Jane Siberry. Hi, Jane.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming in today. You want to start off with a song?
Yes. And I have Rebecca and Ali with me sing. They came into the studio to help sing, so here we go.
Okay.
Santa Maria, Santa Teresa, Santa Anna, Santa Susanna, Santa Cecilia, Santa Copilia, Santa Domenica, Mary Angelica, Frater Ashad, Frater Pietro, Santa Santos, Miroslav, Vladimir, and all the rest. Oh, man is placed upon the steps, and a baby cries, and high above the church bells start to ring. And as the heaviness, oh, the body settles in, somewhere you can hear a mother sing. Then it's one foot, then the other, as you step out on the road. You step out on that road. How much weight? How much? Then it's how long and how far and how many times. Oh, before it's too late. Calling all angels, calling all angels. Walk me through this world, don't leave me alone. Calling all angels, calling all angels. We're trying, we're hoping, but we're not sure how this goes. Oh, and every day you gaze upon the sunset with such love and intensity. Why, it's almost as if you could only crack the code, then you'd finally understand what this all means. Oh, but if you could, do you think you would trade in all the pain and suffering? Oh, but then you'd miss the beauty of the light upon this earth and the sweetness of believing. Calling all angels, calling all angels. Walk me through this world, don't leave me alone. Calling all angels, calling all angels. We're trying, we're hoping, and we're loving, and we're hurting. We're crying, and we're calling, 'cause we're not sure how this goes.
Beautiful. Thank you. That was my favorite song. How did you know?
Well, part of my job as a musician is just to have my barometers up, my antenna up, I mean.
I imagine that's a lot of people's favorite song, though. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you for writing that.
You're welcome.
Jane Siberry is my guest here today on Music and Ideas, and the ladies behind you were lovely as well. Thank you as well. They'll be accompanying you tonight, I imagine?
Yes.
That's at the Royal Room, 8 o'clock tonight. I don't know if there are tickets still available or not, but
lots of tickets. And if Brandy Carlisle is feeling okay, she's coming. She's coming down with something, but she may come anyway.
Mm-hmm. Let's hope that the...
And then next Thursday and Friday we have special guests too. Next Thursday is Robin Holcomb, and Friday is Taylor Lynn, who's Loretta Lynn's granddaughter.
Right. I've seen her a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're fortunate to have you here. We're fortunate in Seattle to have a great scene of musicians as well, and Robin is definitely one of them. She's been here on KBCS a number of times. So I wanted to talk to you just a bit about your career, if I could.
Mm-hmm.
It could be characterized sort of unconventionally, I suppose. You've been a recording artist for many years, since the early 1980s. You've had independent releases. You've been on a major label. You've done your own record label. You've sold all your stuff. You've changed your name and then back again. If someone were to ask you how you'd characterize your career, how would you respond?
To me, that my career has been surprising. To others, perhaps surprising too, sort of maybe anti-success, it might seem in some ways, because I changed my name and lost a lot of people following me then. But I think a lot of people also trust me because they know I'm doing what I feel guided to do, and hopefully it's coming from a greater design, so it can be leaned on. Let's
go with that.
Okay.
On that note, and you referenced it just a little bit earlier about your antenna being up. How do you approach songwriting? I mean, some people I know carve time out of their day and treat it like something that they have to do and nurture every day in order to keep the soil tilled and the ground fertile. In that kind of metaphor, how do you approach your songwriting?
Well, that's good you said to nurture their songwriting, because it might seem cold and clinical to have a time set up and go in, but it is, in fact, to do something really nice for yourself and nurture it. I've always been like 2 years ahead and 4 years behind, and by that I mean it takes me 2 years to write about something usually. If something's really moved me, a shift within myself, it takes me about 2 years. But I can also sing during the show that night about something that happened in the day or in the show. But I'm just about to start booking time every day to write, but I haven't yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good, and I've already started booking time to do my vocal exercises, and that's been like 50 years coming. Okay, 30. And so I'm hoping to catch up to all these other people. But I usually only write when I have, because I don't use discipline, I usually only write when I'm inspired.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When I introduce new artists or people that, that musicians who my friends and family aren't familiar with, they want to know, but they ask me, well, what does she sound like, or what does he sound like, or what does that band sound like? Mm-hmm. And if someone asked me, how would you describe Jane Siberry as a musician, as a singer?
Over to you, Steve.
On the spot. And I thought that was such a great question. No, I understand. It's a hard thing to, art is an elusive thing, and you seem to be a passionate pursuer of that.
Yeah, I really don't like the word art because I don't know, like a lot of people, it has a lot of negative connotations. But I am a pursuer of beauty. Mm-hmm. When things are beautiful, this force comes up, and I really want to capture it. Isn't that weird? It's like a power thing, maybe, but maybe not. But when something moves me, it gives me the energy to try to put it into words or into visual images, like I paint too now. But I want to add, I write mostly when I'm inspired. which doesn't mean people who book a time every day to write aren't inspired. They actually set the soil up for being more inspired. So the hope is that we're all inspired when we're writing, because I think we get out of our own way and we can trust it more. But yeah.
Well, thank you. Do you have another song that you would like to play?
Would you like to hear one?
I'd love to hear one. I'm sure our audience would too. Jane Siberry is my guest here on Music and Ideas. She'll be at the Royal Room tonight and 2 nights next week as well.
Okay. This is one of the best relationships I've ever had in my life, in that I am very clear now about not wanting another relationship like that. Anyway, I learned a lot. I went back and I thanked him. I'm sure people can relate to this. You had a good thing, and you blew it. When it came right down to it, you couldn't get down to it. And what I'm talking about is treating someone right. She was such a lovely girl, such a sweet delight. You had a good thing, and you blew it. When it came right down to it, you couldn't get down to it. And I'm not talking flexibility, by the way. I'm not talking the Kama Sutra. But you were only nice to her when it would suit you. And when she was coming over, you would cause her to react in the strangest of ways. And now let me describe those strange ways. She would snap on her bustier. She would yank on her thong. She would slash on her lipstick, jab on her perfume. And from these few things, we knew, ooh, something's wrong. We'd watch her jam on her stilettos, cram on her hat. She was doing her duty, but she was hissing like a cat. And she was just trying to get her lover up to maybe 0 if she was lucky, and she had to do it all with her booty. You had a good thing, and you blew it. If it came right down to it, I don't think you could get down to it. And now you hear that someone else is treating our girlfriend right. Would you like to know what she does when they're coming for the night? You would? Well, she dabs on her perfume. She goes into major chords that I promised I would never play. And she kisses her lipstick, and she caresses her bustier, and she thrills herself softly with her thong. She admires her stilettos, and she looks in the mirror, and she likes what she sees. She looks beautiful, all that inner beauty spilling out, and she takes great delight in mobilizing her lover to greater heights. And it's so easy, just with the crook of a finger, a bat of the eyelash. And it's so much fun, which perhaps is how it's supposed to be. You had a good thing, and you blew it. When it came right down to it, you couldn't get down to it. And what I'm saying is, you just didn't know how to treat someone right, perhaps. Or maybe it was right. It depends on how you see the overview of life's lessons, etc. But we never saw her so upset as when you were coming for the night. End song here. End song here. There.
That's beautiful. I've seen you perform that before.
But it's not beautiful.
Well, it's
actually loving.
In the eye of the beholder, as they say.
Yeah, he thanked me for that song too.
As well he should.
No, he did.
I'm not joking. I believe you. I believe you. Thank you. Again, we're talking with Jane Siberry here. It's about 3:33. A few more minutes with her. Something else I wanted to ask you about. You made your entire music collection available for free for people to download from your website. Why did you do that?
Well, that came because people often would write saying they had a need for it, or they wanted to play it at a gathering or something larger, and it was always, something that would be helpful, and I didn't feel right charging for it, so I started putting it up, for that purpose for free. And then all my other songs sort of started getting restless, and they wanted to be let out of the cage too. So I thought, well, this is crazy. I'll make my website simple. If people need them for these purposes, they don't pay. If they want to pay for normal use, they can pay or not. if they don't have the money. So it made it a very flexible interface, which I thought was good for someone like me who was busy and just wanted a simple system. Now, I've changed it a few times because I am limited a bit by software. So as I've changed my website, sometimes I haven't been able to provide that. But people now sort of know, and they just email me and say, this is for that person, can you email it to me? Which I love that. I love that it's very efficient to have your reputation work without you having to be there. And another good thing is people sometimes, if they don't have money at shows for T-shirts or whatever, they know they can just go take it and go to my website later at night.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine that your fans are honest and would want you to be want you to be compensated for your work too. I mean, I know I've bought stuff off your site before and paid more than you had.
Oh, let me thank you now. That's really nice.
Well,
actually, it's not nice. You felt it was balanced.
It's the right thing to do, yeah.
Okay, got it.
But anyway, so I and a lot of other artists, I forget there was a hugely popular band that put a record out for free on their website not long after you did. And I went, wow, Jane is leading the charge again.
Oh, yeah. Actually, invisible people lead the charge, but I was more obvious. But yeah, it was REM.
Yeah.
Radiohead.
Sorry. Radiohead, that's right. That's right.
But yeah, everyone's trying to become efficient and use their time well. And what better people to find new ways are creative people. So it's good. It's better that we figured out than
some corporate person.
Yeah, yeah. It was good ideas. We're good ideas people. And another good idea I had, which didn't quite work out on this tour, but I think is really lightening up on having your own band. So now when we go into cities, sometimes we just use local players. Mm-hmm. And then we don't have to pay travel and accommodation.
The Chuck Berry approach.
Is it?
That's how he did it for years. He'd just go into town and get whoever the local band that played his music that covered Chuck Berry songs. So
okay, that's great then. When who covered his songs already? He was that famous.
Yeah, he didn't have Chuck Berry, Johnny B. Good, and all that stuff back in the 50s and 60s.
Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you can have higher standards for other things. You're not, shooting yourself in the foot. So lots of musicians are coming up with all kinds of good ways to keep life peaceful and simple and efficient. The days of excess and dross are not now. Maybe they'll come again, but...
You seem to have just a couple more questions. Again, we're talking to Jane Siberry, who's at the Royal Room tonight. You seem to have a connection with this time of year. You've put out holiday recordings before, and you've done some other tours in December. This particular tour you're on has a particular theme, right?
Yeah.
It escapes me at the moment because my internet isn't working in front of me.
You're blocking it. It's Hose and Hosers.
Maybe
you didn't want to say the word hosers.
Such a great word.
You know what a hoser is?
It's a British thing, right? Or
Well, I don't know if they use it.
Kind of
it's
a schmuck,
Canadian.
right?
It's sort of. It's just a everyday guy or girl. Uh-huh. It's gender free. Just. You got your smokes in your breast pocket, and you've got probably a toque on, and you drink beer, and you're just good-natured and whatever.
Yeah. What is it about this time of year that touches you then?
Well, often people tour in the fall after a record release because they say don't release until September, October, and then you end up in the Christmas time. So I think it can happen by accident, but often I am really happy to go out in October, November, December just to see what's happening in the world. So I feel like it's a time for checking in on things for me. And I don't like a lot of Christmas music, so I choose songs that I think are really beautiful for my taste anyway.
Well, your holiday release, Shush on the Palace, was fabulous, one of my favorites. It's this time of year to play it for sure.
Thanks. We are actually doing a couple songs from that. And the person who inspired that, Peter Kiesewalter from the Downtown Messiah in New York, is actually the music director on this tour.
That's great. That's great. Do you have one more song for us?
Yeah.
As you go, you have to go back across the bridge. I'm sorry.
Actually, I love bridges. I was just kidding. funny things happen when you cross a bridge.
I have to do it 2 times a day because I live not far from where you'll be tonight, and I work over here. So,
Are you coming to the show?
yeah, I'll be there with some
Bells on.
special people.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, the more people that can come, the better, because we don't do this very often, and we might die tomorrow. Don't
We only have
don't assume
this moment, right?
You might die tomorrow. Whatever. Yeah, let's make the best of tonight, Steve.
I'm gonna do my best, Jane.
Right to the wall. Okay. This song is called Five and Dime, and it's about context. I'll just sing a few verses from it, but we sing it in the show too. Imagine a world where the columns of the temple come to life, at first stiff and then flexible and flowing, striding down the street, a perfect reflection of her inner beauty, inner glory, reaching here, helping there, until separation from each other is just a puzzling memory, instead of quietly sitting in our cubicles at work wondering how this boring life came to be. Leroy works the counter at the corner store. To look at him you'd think there's nothing more, but I saw him at the train station on the day of the fire. If ever you need help, he's the guy. And Marjorie works the diner in Oklahoma, making sure that no one feels alone. She's famous for her kindness and her Solomon's advice, but if you saw her on the bus, you'd not look twice. Imagine a world where the columns of the temple come to life, at first stiff and then flexible and flowing, striding down the street, a perfect reflection of our inner beauty, inner glory, reaching here, helping there, until separation from each other is just a puzzling memory, instead of quietly sitting in our own apartments 5 feet from each other with our own fridge and our own TV. Do you want to hear another verse, or should I stop?
Another, please.
All right. I'll tell you about Moose, who's an inspiration for this show. And then there was this fellow called Moose. He worked at the corner store. He had thick neck and broad shoulders and sort of a big forehead, and you can just imagine he was huge. He was all brawn and brain, but in a different way. And if you talked to him about spirituality, he'd just shrug his shoulders and say, "What for?" Anyway, he's everything you would not want in a refined romantic cavalier, I suppose. But on the day they came over that hill, oh my God, he out-Thored Thor. And Dr. Major, she is not enjoyed at the hospital where she works downtown. They say that what she lacks in social niceties, she makes up for by being exasperatingly precise and oblivious to any complaints of overwork. But when our mother became seriously ill, in all the rushing and sirens and tears and fussing, when Dr. Major walked into the room with a clipboard at her chest, took one look at her mother, was at her side in 3 great strides, she looked like an angel to us. So about context, the right context, bringing out everyone's largest self, beauty.
Done as only Jane Siberry could do it. Thank you so much for coming in today. It's been my pleasure to have you on KBCS.
Well, you were the first one on this tour to email and request an interview, and that really meant a lot. So thanks for getting that all rolling, Steve.
Well, you are welcome. I've been a fan for a long time. Thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me, Steve. And all the best to you.
Best to you, too. It's Music and Ideas, 91.3 KBCS.